See the Galactic Soul, the Honorable Brother, the Revolutionary yourself, Darius Lockhart, and I'm here to tell you to watch Power Bombshells every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern on the Fight Game Media YouTube channel. That's right, every Sunday at 1 p.m., and that's on time, every time, because when we stand together, what time is it? That's right, it's nation time.
Welcome to Power Bombshells 170, despite what the banner says. I'm Mel, that's Sam. We're just two broads talking about the wrestling we watch. How are you, Sam? How's it going?
I'm doing really good. I got to see some amazing wrestling last night, and then also I got and the weirdest thing. I wasn't sure if I was gonna talk about it on air, but since people have seen it, I guess I would go ahead and talk about it. I feel like I got a tarot card reading from my tribal chief. Because it's 2025 and why not?
That's amazing. Is that like on your...
Yesterday or the day before, he tweeted and he was like, I can, because we always talk about all these things that Mortos can do, because we found out he used to be a veterinarian, he used to be a nurse, he's in law school, he's
amazing.
So he just obviously he has, and on top of being an incredible wrestler and all that, then he just happens to be Mercedes Moné's boyfriend on top of that.
Yeah,
so, I mean, why not? Just what can't this man do? Well, then he tweets, I can also read tarot, and he posts a picture of two of his decks. And then today, I just happened to see a tweet, and he was like, I'm going to do some readings on my flight from Mexico to Phoenix. Tell me your full name and ask me your question, and I'll do readings. And so nobody had answered yet. Do I want, because I was like, obviously with Twitter, people you both follow can see it. And I was like, do I want to put myself out there like that? But on the other hand, I was like, I use tarot and I get readings. And so I enjoy getting readings. I was like, this is somebody who doesn't know me. So that, and I was like, why not? And so I just asked for just a general message, just whatever, what does the universe have? What message do they have for me? And so I got a response, and so I'm going to read it.
It's really awesome.
Yeah, I was just like, you know what? This is cool. So he
wrestling.
Said, right? Who in the world ever would have thought? Not me.
I got to recommend that Takeshita buy an air fryer, and you got your tarot read by it.
There we go. Look at us.
It's amazing.
Look at us. So he said, this is not he said, the message that came through was, be proud of what you do. You will take courses to improve your craft or your talent. If you continue like this, you will achieve your goal, and magically you will be given a new beginning for a project. You will be an inspiration to others, and you need to meditate. Which made me laugh, because I listen to meditations almost every night before I go to sleep. And so I was like, apparently I need to meditate during the day, maybe, and meditate on specific questions or something like that. Maybe that's what the message was. So I was like, I do meditate literally nearly every single night. That's what I listen to meditations as I sleep. And I was like, maybe I need to.
So clearly I'm on the right track, is what I would
say. Right. And so I was like,
you're already on the right track, and that's an endorsement that you need to continue.
Right. So maybe it's just confirmation. And then some of the stuff that was in this message is kind of confirmation of some stuff. And so that's how I took it. And so I just thanked him for the reading. And it was funny because one of my fellow writers for Wrestling Inc. saw it, and he screenshot it and sent it into the Slack, and some of us were talking about it, and then a few other people that follow both of us were they said something about it, which it was really cool. And so it was just a really nice message to get this morning. And I screenshot it and bookmarked it. That way I can go back to it. And
that's so cool.
And then hopefully maybe I'll be able to come back and be like, hey, this is how it played out. So
that's really fun. That's what I love. That's that's all you haters out there. Shut up. Wrestling's awesome. It's so cool. It's so fun. I went to wrestling when I went to CCW on Thursday too, so I got to see some local wrestling this week. It's been fun to be around and see some of the new kids like coming along. It's nice to be back around that scene. It always makes you feel a little better.
Yeah, it does. It is nice to have that, because like, so Darius or Ashe hasn't put on a show in Charlotte since December, and it's it was nice to just kind of be back in that environment and then be with, and it was in a new location. It was the first time they've ever done this venue. They're running that venue again next month. It was really cool. It was nice to be around everybody and just seeing so many. There were a lot of people there. It looked like there were some new people. I mean, granted, I think a lot of them were there for Cedric, because I saw people that I used to see that used to come to next that don't come to Ashe, and they obviously came for Cedric. Hopefully that means they'll come back. Hopefully they liked what they saw and they'll come back again. But it was, it's indie wrestling is always good. Support your indie wrestling. We always say that, of course, support the big companies too when they come through. There's nothing wrong with that, but always support your indie wrestling, your local indie wrestling if you can.
Yeah, it's really kid friendly. It's one of the things I really like about ours is not just that they are doing the wrestling and it's for all of us older people, but there's a lot of younger people there that go as families. And honestly, right now, it's like $15 for general admission. That's basically the most affordable thing you can do right now.
Right. And last night yesterday they had a thing, because it was in like a arcade, like the main part was like an arcade area, and it had like games and stuff. I mean, it's for adults and stuff, but obviously kids can do it too. And then the adjoining room had the wrestling, but like I think they had some deal, like if you bought a ticket for kids, then they got like a certain amount of like coins that they could use to play in the arcade before the wrestling show. So I was like, that's a really cool thing, and that's a different way to get kids involved and to hopefully bring out families and realize that like it is a family friendly type of thing.
Yeah,
why
definitely.
is this being weird? Okay.
Is it your turn now?
No, I just I was retweeting where Garrett our live stream. I was retweeting it, and it decided to tell us in the comments.
Okay, all right.
That I did, and then
Weird.
Also it's showing, instead of showing people's name, it's showing their YouTube handles, which is weird. I don't know what YouTube is doing today, but
it's in the whatever.
Yes. Yes, I saw that sign about supporting your local indie wrestling. Yes, I was glad to see that. There was a lot of Defy, which they were in Defy country.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think they play at Washington Hall usually, but that place was just being built when we moved away. The place, it's not indirectly in Seattle. It's actually in Kent. Our joke to people that are from that area, we were like, live from Kent. It was the same joke we were making about them saying that Seattle is Swerve's hometown. It's like, no, Tacoma is Swerve's hometown. However,
right.
So that's local nerdery, really. We are just parsing because we obviously everything with it. But I loved they were chanting Defy when Vert Vixen was out there because she's pretty regular out there.
She was their champion for a long time. I don't believe she's the current champion, the women's champion anymore, but she was for a very long time. And Vert Vixen's been, she's somebody that's been like on Dark in Elevation multiple times. She's been in ROH and stuff, and she was cool to see her. And then they were just there's a lot of like indie love, which I really appreciate. So that was really cool. I thought the crowd was really awesome this week. They've definitely, especially if you've got a chance to watch Collision and watch the Kyle versus Kyle match.
Oh my gosh.
Those chants were incredible.
Well done, Seattle, Kent, and the surrounding area. That was hilarious. They did that. It reminded me of the Adam Cole, the Adams. When they fought. Adam Page, Hangman.
Yes.
And they were chanting Adam, and they were doing the same kind of thing. And I was like,
they were chanting, but they were chanting like one of the chants was, it was the We Hurt People, except for they changed Hurt to Kyle. So
Right,
it was We Kyle People.
Kyle people. It was amazing. They were so
And
great.
Danielson came out afterwards and came out as Kyle Danielson. Like it was because I saw one of my girl, we follow each other and she lives in the area and she was there. And then Jim Valley was there and Jim Valley was talking about it too. And Danielson was like in the ring afterwards and said for one night only, he was Kyle Danielson and just like doing stuff in the ring. And it was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's I wasn't even thinking about it, but that's home country for him too, pretty
Yeah,
well. So that's amazing. I'm glad that they had fun. It was a fun show. It helps so much. Some of these crowds have been real bummers, but some of them have been really, really great. We appreciate you.
We do.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. But yeah, so Ashe was fantastic. If you get the chance, if you didn't get to yesterday, go to Ashe's YouTube channel, or you can go to, they actually apparently they have a Twitch channel now. And so they also were live on Twitch yesterday. Show was great. I mean, obviously Ashe always delivers, but like I saw there was and it was like, so they did the two. I missed the first pre-show match because we got there a little bit late and then we were having to figure out the parking situation and things like that. And so unfortunately we missed the women's match, but we did see the second match. And those were both open to the public. So people could come watch for free and then decide if they wanted to buy tickets. Yeah.
That's smart.
And so there was a ton of people and it was they had to open like the back, like the big window things, because it was really hot yesterday. So and so I think that in the beginning, I think that kind of took the crowd out of it a little bit. Like they were hype and stuff, but like it took a few matches to get going. And I think it's because it was just so hot. But then
it's pretty unbearable.
That like it started to pick up during Darian Bingston and Owen Knight had a grudge match and the crowd started to come alive. But then the vibe completely changed because they did a 6-man no DQ match with the Ugly Gang versus, I guess it's pronounced Damn Time. It's DMNTME, so it's without the vowels. I think it's pronounced Damn Time, but it was and Rayhan, who I've interviewed for Daily DDT and has been with Ashe since day one, and we've known him from PWX. It was him, and it's his group, and it was insanity. Like you didn't know where to look because like there was stuff happening right in front of us. Then behind us, like there were people fighting. Then over on this side, there were people fighting, and like the cameras were like couldn't really figure out like where to get to. It was insanity, and like somebody went through a table right in front of us. I almost ended up with a very large man in my lap because Rayhan like sent him into the barricade, and this man is very tall. He's got to be at least 6'5".
Wow.
And the barricade like started to rock, and the referee, like we all kind of put our hands up, and the referee caught it, and he was like, "Are y'all okay?" And we were like, "Yes." And he told him, he's like, "Y'all gotta watch out for them." So he's like, "Be careful." That match that completely changed the tone of the show because then the crowd was just
into it.
Yeah, it was so great. And then so there were 2 women's matches because they're doing a tournament to determine the inaugural women's champion. So their women's tournament has started while the ROH Pure women's tournament has not started. But they had Jazz as a special guest referee for one of the matches. And it was funny because it was Faye Jackson was in. It was her. She was in one of the qualifying matches, and it was her birthday yesterday. And she comes out this birthday babe stash and she's dancing with some girls, and then she comes to me and Nikki, and like I was taking a picture, and we were both taking pictures, and she put her hand in front of the camera. She said, "Stop taking pictures and dance with me." So we're doing our arms in the air with her. So that was unexpected and a lot of fun. And then yes, that was Khan. Khan has wrestled with Ashe a couple of times. This was his third show because he wrestled at the December show, which is the anniversary show. He wrestled with them in Vegas on the Vegas show, and then he wrestled last night and has set up something for next month because he got involved in another. He had his own match, then he got involved in another match, and so. But yes, so that was Khan. He is great live. I already was a fan of him and Gates of Agony, but like being able to see him individually is really great too. And then Cedric has not missed a beat. He looks incredible. Awesome. I was so happy, and his face when he saw me and Nikki and Matthew in the front row and he realized who it was just like this look of recognition, like, oh, they're here. So that was really cool, and the match was great. Awesome. There will be an interview coming with him soon. I got to interview him last night for Daily DDT. It was so loud because afterwards they were playing a lot of music for the other, for the non-wrestling fans. So I had to interview him back behind the building because that's the only place that was quiet enough, because I had my questions written out in my notes app, and I was like, I'm going to have to just like hand in my phone and be like, just type out your answers, because it was so loud. But it was really cool. And Swole was there. She was on commentary, and then she came to find him and and she saw us back there, and he's like, I'm coming, hold on. Like we had just wrapped the interview when she walked up, and their daughter was there. And so it's crazy. Like Swole was pregnant with her, like one of the like right before he I think I forget, she may have been a couple of years old when he signed with WWE, but like she's 11 now and she's tall. And I didn't even I saw her in the crowd last night, didn't realize that was her until I saw her with Cedric later. And I was like, oh my God. And she looks like both of them. Like she's definitely a mixture of both of her parents, but I was like, she's so big now. But yeah, so the interview was great. It was really great catching up to him. So hopefully I'll get that transcribed soon. And then the main event. So it's crazy that Cedric was not even the main event. That's how stacked this show was. The main event was Darius versus Darius 3 for the Ashe title. And I don't want to spoil anything because I'm going to just let you guys see it. Yeah, but it was very, very good. Awesome. And there's a lot of, it reminded me because, when Darius Carter was on the show last week, he was talking about how one of the people he wants to face is DSJ, and both of them, and they've done it before, like in their other matches, but there was a lot of technical type of stuff added into this match. And it made me think of that conversation that we had with Darius last week. Yes. Holy Darius, we Darius people. There was a sign. I posted a picture. Oh no, I haven't posted it yet. I sent it to a friend. That's what it was. There's a picture and it had, let me see if I'll tell you exactly what it
Did you guys chant Darius?
We did, match? But nice. Then there was some people started a lock-in Lockhart chant, and so that was, but there's a sign that says, I'm rooting for Darius, and then it had a drawing of both of Darius's faces, like of the both of them, and it was really cool. So I'll post that sign. But yeah, the show,
another case of the fans being the real winners.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and like there were some Darius Carter fans in the crowd last night.
There always will be heels.
They do fans. Exist. They definitely,
not Kathy, but.
No, not Kathy.
There are definitely other ones.
There were a few. But yeah. And I was going to go over and like officially introduce myself to him, because like we've seen each other in passing at shows before, and we've, interacted a little bit, but I wanted to obviously thank him for coming on the show. But the only time I actually really got to see him was that they were doing the end of the meet and greets, and he was next to Jazz's table, and I had a friend who couldn't make it to the show last night, but he had bought a meet and greet. And so he had asked if I would go get a personalized picture for him. So I was talking to her, and then we did end up, a fan was taking a picture with Darius, and my sister ended up being the one to take the picture. And I was going to say something to him then, but he was finishing up with the fan. And then when I saw him again last night, he was like with some people, and that's when we were trying to get like figured out for Cedric. And so I did end up seeing him again after that. So I will make sure at the next show to thank him again for his time last week, because that was a really good conversation. I really enjoyed having him, especially because we've never had somebody quite like Darius Carter.
Yeah, definitely. It was so great. That was a great conversation. I love, obviously, we like platforming those guys.
Yeah,
it's what we love.
Right. Exactly.
Speaking of some of our characters that we've had on, the Spider is actually getting his first title shot ever. Coming up soon, so
nice.
we might have to get him on here to talk about that.
Yeah, that would be fun.
And what was the other thing I was going to tell you about? I'll figure it out. But yeah, that was one thing that I thought was really interesting. And it was that the short film on the Spider.
Oh yeah,
won another award.
Oh nice.
So
awesome.
He's like
Congratulations.
got 6 like awards at these different, keeps entering these different short film competitions, and it just keeps getting recognition. So it's really, really fun. So for any of you that have been around for these Spiders infamous appearances and have watched that, I thought that was really cool to hear that they continue to
great news.
Succeed.
Awesome.
Because that is like exposing people that means that people that wouldn't otherwise know anything about wrestling are watching it.
Yes, and that's how you grow the business.
Yeah.
Finding people outside of it. So for sure. And thanks, Crash. He said he gave a plug for Ashe elsewhere. I mentioned he started second guessing myself since I couldn't see him mention after. Yes, he definitely was. Yes, and he'll be at the next show. The match was not confirmed, but the challenge was laid out, and I'm pretty sure it's happening. So that he wrestled Diego Hill on the card yesterday. Diego was supposed to wrestle who was it? It was somebody, because Kira ended up not being able to make it yesterday, and there was somebody else that was not able to make it, and I just blanked on who it was. But so Khan ended up wrestling Diego Hill, and Diego on Friday night just got signed with MLW. He got signed after a match that he had on MLW, so that was really cool because Diego is very good. I've seen him in Deadlock Pro a few times. I've seen him obviously in Ashe. He's very, very good. So, and then I don't think I mentioned it last week. Actually, I think Darius Carter may have mentioned it, but Jada Stone, who has been at several Ashe shows. I've seen her with Deadlock. She's really, really good. TNA just signed her the week before. Which is very cool. I thought she was gonna, I guess technically because they're working together, it makes sense, but I thought she was gonna get ID'd. So I was a little surprised that TNA scooped her up first. Which I guess, obviously they have the relationship or whatever. Right. So maybe she does end up over there, but she is great. And she qualified for the women's tournament back in the Vegas show. So lots of cool stuff happening for indie wrestling, which we love to see.
Yeah, we do.
And then
we'll be sponsoring a wrestling expo coming up in August.
That's so cool.
So that's very exciting.
Look at Power Bombshells.
It's just so cool because it's supporting something we like, and we can help the people that are there, and it's nice. It's just nice, fun. I get to go to wrestling for work and for fun. But not in a bad way. Like, so it won't ruin it for me.
Right.
Like that, like it can do. I have like pulled back. That's yesterday. I didn't catch up on anything because I was we were helping a good brother at Fair who has a regular booth, and just helping him build that out because we don't help the blood-sucking millionaire that runs our fair, but we do love to help our good brothers that have the craft booths, and he's the guy who does all of our furs. If you've ever seen our Viking pictures,
okay.
He's our his name is Art. He's a wonderful person. You guys would freaking love him. He's indigenous, so he does all of his taxidermy like
very cool
as a indigenous person. So that's how he's allowed to actually get a hold of some things that other people wouldn't be able to even.
Sure.
And he does it the right way because they use freaking everything, like all of our buttons, lots of our little hooks. One of the guys that he's got as an apprentice actually makes, these are so funny, out of the like remains, he makes little like snow globe, like squirrels and other animal like fight scenes or diorama type things. They're like doing all these things. It's like the coolest thing. He just found, he's like, yeah, I can just make these little squirrels. It's
That's awesome. Good
amazing. You guys, you guys would obviously like get caught at my local people, Green Time, who are also sponsoring. You can't see it here. I went over there to get like all natural chapsticks and all natural powder. And oh my gosh, I don't know what I've been doing. It's like right here, I can walk to it.
Right.
Local business, local wrestling, all of the things.
Yes.
Support your local businesses right now. It's like way better. Because I got cuticle oil. It's like a deodorant powder that I'm trying out. It's very cool. It's lavender and peppermint. And a chapstick. All for like $15. Nice.
It was a really good deal. Yeah, that's like last year, Ashe actually, they did a block party. It was like 4 or 5 matches, but then they had like some local business
vendors.
And I ended up, I spent like, I ended up spending more, but like there was one place I got a couple things. I got like 3 things from this woman and it was like $15. And then like there's another woman who was selling art and I got one of her smaller pieces. And it was like, she had some like more expensive pieces, but the pieces that were in my budget, especially because I was not expecting to to walk in and pay a budget. But I did get one of her smaller pieces that was actually very pretty, and it was $10, and it was like really cool to help support local people. Supporting local companies at our local wrestling. So I told Darius, I was like, this is like right up our alley, and I was like, please do more of this.
That's what CCW actually does. It's really cool because they sponsor it and they have their little booth over there where they sell merch too. Nice. And she does hers. You and Nikki I don't think I'd be able to get you guys out of there.
Probably not.
You would just and you'd love the owner because she does it's her husband they do it together obviously, but he is the wrestling nerd. So that's where we will nerd out about wrestling forever and ever. Well, she even does workshops on making soap and making the hand soaps that she makes and making the candles and all these things. And you just see her in there. She's making her stuff while she's talking to you.
That's cool that you get to watch it being made in front of you.
Works with the animal rescue. So the place that we do all the Richmond Ruckus, where all that goes to the animal rescue, she helps with the rescue. So she's got little kitties in there. You guys would die. I mean,
yes, you would.
The kind of spot that I would, if you came to visit me, it's like, okay, I'm taking Sam and Nikki here. And I'm going to wait towards the end.
We would love it.
They'll live in here forever.
Yeah.
It's so cool. Yeah. It's just one of those places where I'm like, I don't think we could take them here. They would never leave. Or if they did, they'd have a box of things.
Yes. Oh, for sure. I can already tell.
I love it. I just love it's nice to get out into your community and actually get to know people at times like these.
Right. And to support them. Because we need.
Oh, yeah. JCW. They're doing a crossover with. Actually, they're going to be at our expo.
Oh, really?
I just realized. And they're doing a crossover with GCW, I think, coming up here when GCW goes to the Majestic coming up. Nice. I just saw that pop up on my timeline.
JCW did a show here in May, and Caleb Conley, who we've known as long as we've known Cedric, and who happens to be on my Revolt shirt I'm wearing today. He is involved. I mean, he wrestles for the promotion, but he also does some other stuff for them. I can't remember what his official title is. And so I was like, I haven't seen Caleb in forever. He doesn't wrestle here. He still lives here, but he doesn't wrestle here anymore. But I was like, I don't think I love you enough to go to a JCW show. And there's nothing wrong with it. Listen, love what you love. Just I don't think I don't know that that's the live crowd for me. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's a don't knock it till you try it. Maybe I'd go and I'd have a blast. But on the other hand, I'm not so sure.
For me, it's one of those things where I almost want to observe the crowd at a thing. Because some things I would go to just to I would get GA and stand in the back just to have the experience of seeing what that
the other JCW. This is the other JCW.
Oh, different one, Jersey
Championship, which is co-owned by Brett. Yes, Jersey Championship Wrestling. That's
Oh,
the one.
sorry, Brad. When you say JCW around a Michigander, we automatically think of Juggalo
Right.
Championship
Yes,
Wrestling. It's just
JCW
in it's where I am now. I've been here 10 years. I've been integrated into this culture. It's the way we work. Sorry. My brain went whoop whoop, and that's what happened.
The Jersey JCW was awesome. I watched some of their shows. The Jersey J Cup, which I keep forgetting. I've not gone back and watched night 2. I know Nikki, I don't think knows who won, but I know who won the tournament, and I think that's why I keep forgetting that I haven't actually watched night 2, is because I saw who won, because it got spoiled for me from an account I follow was doing like not live coverage, but they were writing about it. And I saw their article, and that's how it got spoiled for me. And so I think that's why I keep forgetting I didn't watch it. But I always love watching the Jersey J Cup. They always have banger matches. And Kevin Knight, getting to see him whenever you can is great. Kevin Knight is obviously, we've been talking about him forever. And then he's super nice. I got to interview him last year right before he went to BOSJ the second time.
Awesome.
And he was super nice to talk to, and I love that guy. And so I'm glad that you're getting to see him. And then Crash says, a very small one, to be fair, folks were plugging local indie shows via osmosis marketing since I'm not even in the States. Listen, that's huge though. Like, to be able
I
to
talk about OTT all the time because I have a good brother who goes.
No, that's hugely appreciated.
We love indies no matter where they lie.
Yes.
I like going to indie shows out of my sphere, especially. That's what got me back into going to indie shows. I was going to one in Ireland, going to one of the first OTT shows with our friend when we were visiting. So
right.
I mean, I would not be doing this right now, and I would not be this deep into indie wrestling if that hadn't happened. Because it's like I remembered how much fun it is. And it's just like Ren Fair. Both communities, notwithstanding the bad actors that come along with just about every human endeavor.
Right.
Those communities are so fun and so non-judgmental and so cool because we're just giant nerds. Like, we're either dressing up and drinking out of horns and mugs and stuff, or we're rooting for guys in crazy costumes, playing crazy characters to do crazy things and fake fight each other. Like, how can you be judgmental of anyone in either of those environments?
Right.
And actually, we have started to realize that it's like we were walking, because at one of our recent fairs, there was also a wedding taking place at the venue, and the people were all looking at us crazy. And it was like, well, you look weird to us. Okay. So that works both ways.
Right.
We may look weird dressed up in what we're dressed up in, but we think what you're wearing looks pretty silly too. So to each their own. Like what you want.
Exactly. Like this time, like, I mean, always, but especially in times like these, like, it's good to find the things that you love and bring you joy and make you happy and to go after
these communities
as long as you're not harming yourself or someone else.
Correct.
Then, and you're practically, you're doing these things responsibly and things like that. Like, then, do whatever makes you happy, because
exactly. Be a nice person, be a good person, put good energy out in the world right now. The world needs it. And that's why I loved it. I mean, it's my karaoke crowd, my Ren Fair crowd, and my wrestling crowd. I love those three communities. They're groups of people that really just, for the most, I mean, overall, they just really want to help each other out and make like our things better. We want to keep it going, and we want to share it with people. We want, like, because we're giant nerds and we love our stuff.
Yes, and we want to be nerds together.
And also, getting out of your freaking house and unplugging your phone is very good for you. And I'm saying that while I'm on the internet. However,
listen,
in general, it's also nice to get outside. Now, it's been very hot on this side of the nation where Sam and I live. So if it's unsafe, obviously you don't want to be going out in the 105 here on Monday was the one we got.
It was we made it to I think that actually the same day, I think it was Monday, we made it to 100. And then the feel, they do the feels like, because of the humidity, like makes it hotter, and so it was 100, but I think the feels like was like 115 or some crap like that.
Yeah. Our heat index was 105. Our dew points, which is what brings the humidity up, were in the 70s and at some points the 80s. So, and because we're where we are, it's not like closer to the ocean, so we don't get Although I heard a lot on the East Coast, you guys weren't getting the night cool off either that you usually get.
We were
so
not.
You're just like our stuff. It's chugging because so many people. We've had brownouts around here.
Wow.
Yeah,
I took Miley out before bed Monday night, and it had dropped down to 77 degrees, but it actually felt good because it wasn't so humid. So it was like 2 a.m. I was like, now would be a great time if I wasn't a woman and it wasn't dark and 2 o'clock in the morning, but now would be a great time to take Miley for a walk because it feels so good. Right. It's like I'll take her around the yard, but it's been, So that's been Weather Minute with the Power Bombshells.
Climate crisis moment with Mel and Sam. There we go. Right. Exactly. But we pushed a lot of independent stuff, and that's what we love.
So Crash says, while we're at it, it would be unfair of him not to do a quick plug for OTT Over the Top Wrestling here in Dublin. And then he said that they had the Bucks here at one stage, and Aussie Open were tag champs very briefly too. True story. I miss Aussie Open. I know that we just talked about this a week ago, but I miss them so much. And then somebody posted a clip, and I only got to see part of it. And I think I came to tweet that it was our 10-minute warning, and the tweet moved because that's what that.
Walter was their champion for a minute too. I think.
I think so. That sounds right.
I know that Pete Dunne and Will Ospreay are like adopted sons, so they've been adopted officially by. Yeah. At least from what my friend who goes to those shows tells me. So it's a great crowd. That's a really fun crowd.
Yeah, we watched a couple of the Scrappermania shows, and they were always so much fun, and the crowds were crazy. Yeah, it sounds like it. I need to. Yeah, I haven't. It's been a really long time since I've checked out any of their stuff.
Yeah.
He's probably
well done, Brad. Well
done. Miss that guy.
Oh man.
Do you know? And I've told this story before, but Walter is probably enjoying his retirement without peanut butter and chocolate. I think I've told this story before in the show, but Walter was at PWX a few years ago, and he was with a wrestler who I will not name because he was one of the main names in Speaking Out. But we didn't know what we didn't know at the time. But Walter was kind of just knew him and was like, that's who he stuck with. It's just kind of wherever he went, Walter was there. And we used to have these, there used to be these two women who used to make wrestling themed cupcakes. They were so good. And they used to sell them at the show. And one of them, I can't remember whose it was for, but it was chocolate with peanut butter. And like, he could not grasp the concept of chocolate and peanut. I'm like, do they not have Reese's cups where you're from? But he was just like, that sounds gross. Do these two?
I mean, I guess that would be weird. I mean, he's from Austria, right?
Yeah, I think so. But
I mean, I guess that, yeah.
Maybe they don't have Reese's cups. Maybe that's not.
Or maybe normal. He's just like, maybe they don't sell them everywhere.
Maybe, but it makes me laugh. And so every once in a while, I'll think of Walter and how he hates chocolate and peanut butter, or he thinks it sounds terrible.
Yeah.
So yes, I can imagine wherever he's enjoying retirement, it does not have that combination in his wherever he is.
Yeah, let's hope not. Let's hope there's no chocolate and peanut butter and catering, right?
Exactly.
Oh man!
All right.
Welcome to everyone. By the way, thank you all for being here.
Thanks for being here. We are
not ignoring your comments.
Nearly 40 minutes.
The compliment on the hat.
Yes,
and went with adventure hat.
I like it. I like the adventure hat.
It's pretty cool. This is pretty versatile. It can be a floppy hat, but it's also an adventure hat. I felt like an adventurer after watching everyone do work yesterday.
There you go.
I was there for good conversation and encouragement. So, and it was nice to see my friends because I always like that.
It's always nice to do that.
Yeah. We were all out of our garb. It was so weird.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
Wearing normal clothes. Working.
Ooh, how weird.
It's fun. It's a lot of fun. Love that stuff. What are we doing? What are we talking about?
So let's see. What are we gonna, as Cody Rose would say, what do you want to talk about?
What do you want?
This is a very AEW heavy episode.
Yeah, it is.
Which I think for most of our viewers is okay. I didn't I didn't have to watch Night of Champions yesterday. Actually, I forgot I was thinking that I wouldn't have to watch it because of Ashe, but I didn't because I did coverage on Collision was on Thursday, and then I forgot Night of Champions would have been on during the day. So I did not have to subject myself to that. I had to subject myself to SmackDown. And if you have not heard, Friday was the last 3-hour episode of SmackDown.
Oh, they finally did it.
Finally did it. We thought it was going to be in August because August 15th, and they started airing ads for it. They are, as I mentioned before, they're doing that TV show, The Rainmaker, based off the book and the movie. They've made it into a TV series. That was going to start, that'll be on Friday nights at 10 o'clock. So SmackDown was already going to go to 2 hours. And then Monday night's episode of Raw is on at 6 p.m. Because they're filming a 2-hour episode of SmackDown to air July 4th because they're actually giving talent July 4th off this year. I think they did it last year too. So they're filming ahead of time, but then Michael Cole kept saying on the show, we're going to 2 hours. But it wasn't just for that show, like it's permanently back to 2 hours. So
nice.
Thankfully, that was our last 3-hour show.
Well, thank goodness
had to struggle through because that show is a chore to get through when it's 3 hours on a good weekend. So it's been so rough.
Well, and clearly it was, regardless of whatever advertising was or wasn't being pulled in from it, clearly it wasn't working for them. So
no, and now they've got it through the Rainmaker. So
there you go.
Yeah. Oh, Nikki was talking about Walter. I'd forgotten about this. That one of the girls was in the middle of explaining it, and he just said that it sounded disgusting and walked off. She said, "I don't think he was trying to be rude. It just disgusted him so bad that he had to leave."
No, that's okay. He comes from an area where they put mayonnaise on French fries, so I don't understand that. That's weird to me.
Nikki
exactly.
Nikki does that, but I hate
that's
mayonnaise.
Germany and Austria. It was like I remember the first time because I was with my cousins and we were out grabbing fries and stuff, and they were like, "You want mayonnaise?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah, Nikki does that sometimes.
No. Mayonnaise and me do not get along anyway.
I've never been a fan of mayonnaise. I don't like mustard either.
The only reason there's like my exceptions, and it's always the weird stuff, but I like potato salad or something like that. I don't mind that. So if you use like the right kind of, and it's got to be a good mayonnaise, it can't.
Yeah, Nikki has to use, obviously she has to use dairy-free mayonnaise, but she has found, I think she's found one that she likes, and then she's found one that she can, actually no, it's not mayonnaise, it's ranch. It's ranch. She'll tell if she's in the chat. But she's found a new thing that she's been trying to make some dairy-free ranch dressing with the stuff that's FODMAP approved or low FODMAP approved because that's what she is on.
Oh, I know how it is, girl.
Yeah. So she's tried quite a few dairy-free mayonnaises to get to one that she liked, and then she found one, and they quit making it appears, or she can't find it anywhere, so now she's had to go to like another one.
I like the olive oil one. That's the one that we use. We use the olive oil one for our potato salad when we do it.
Yeah. So. I think I can't remember if Nikki again, she's in the chat, she can tell us.
It's at least were more options for a long time, so
yes, right, for sure. Yeah. Brett says TNT should counter program with a new show called Rainmaker about Okada, Rocky Romero, and Ishii fighting crime. 10 out of 10 would watch.
I absolutely would watch that. I actually have a backstory for Ishii that he lives in the dojo and becomes a stone golem at night. And so John and I have a whole we have a whole fantasy booked story of the dojo. That has his area sectioned off because he turns to stone like a gargoyle at night, and he's actually a golem.
I believe it.
And nobody goes around that part of the dojo during that time because you just don't disturb him when he's in that state. And then Suzuki had a whole crew at one point. I mean, we were we have a whole story for the dojo back there. Yeah. So
Brett says Ishii in a Gargoyles remake sounds great.
See, it just writes itself. RPG Vice.
That's what they call them. They do call them. Roppongi Vice has been rebranded in AEW as RPG Vice, managed by Don Johnson in a program with the Outrunners. Whole feud is shot in analog at a 4.3 ratio with severe tracking issues. present throughout, straight to VHS video release. Also, 10 out of 10 would watch. And that's so funny that that reminded me that the other day we were watching Collision and somebody in Slack said, is Kip Sabian as his gimmick to be and to look like an extra in Point Break? So to see that fit.
That's true.
It does look. I was like, I mean, I think his gimmick is just to stand there and be
Good
hot.
call.
Like, I think his gimmick is just to stand there and be hot. I mean, they don't let the poor, which is and it's crazy because he can wrestle. Like they just don't let him. I mean, for whatever reason,
doesn't.
like, Kip Sabian can wrestle, you guys. Like, it's not like he's a bad wrestler, but they're like, nah, he's hot and he can just wear his tight shirt and stand here next to Mother Wade, and he'll come help Nick when he needs to. But that's that's it.
Nailed it.
Oh, that's right. Thank you, Nikki. Corrected me. Dairy isn't in the mayo; it's the soy. She said they used far too much soy on all the mayos. Like if you put olive oil in mayo, then it doesn't need soybean oil. And she says she will rant about this forever. Thank you
it's because of the soybean production, because that is like so over the top now between us and China. And Michigan here was supplying a lot of soybeans to the food chain for a long time.
Yes. Soybean oil.
Sorry. It's weird
for her.
She's not wrong though. It's weird what they put in things that they don't need to put in things.
Oh my God. Shopping with Nikki, we find so many things that we're like, why is that in that? Like, and so many of the dairy-free things, they replace it with soy.
Yep.
Or gluten-free. Even the gluten-free stuff that she needs, they'll replace it with soy. And she's like, okay, but I can't have soy either. Mm-hmm. It's always an adventure trying to find things that she can have. I mean, she's been doing it for a while, so, she's kind of figured out stuff, but, like, it's hard trying to find, like, newer things, or they'll change their formulas, and they'll just add stuff in there that don't need to be. But yes, so that has been low FODMAP corner.
I have the app on my phone. I check them too. It's a little app on the phone where you can check which foods have how much in there and which thing. Mm-hmm. It's pretty cool. So that's what I use a lot.
Very helpful.
Yeah, there you go. Nutrition Gut Health Corner with Mel and Sam.
All right, I promise we really are going to talk about.
We're going to talk
talking about wrestling. We
did start off talking about wrestling.
We did. I mean, if you came in late, I got a reading from my tribal chief this morning. I got a tarot reading from my
I can't wait to look at that. Was there a New Japan event?
Yes, it was the Tanahashi Jam that was only aired in Japan and not on the streaming network. It was aired on national television, and nobody outside of Japan got to see it.
Okay.
And then
was there a title change?
Sure was.
Did I hear that right?
Goto dropped the title to Zack Sabre Jr.
That's what I thought I heard.
Yep.
Sorry if we spoiled it for folks.
Well,
although if it wasn't on television, I guess it would have hit the internet as soon as the results were there.
New Japan
are they going to put it on anything?
No, it's not going to be anywhere. It's not going to be on World or anything. It was specifically for the national TV audience because Tanahashi's retiring. It was the Tanahashi Jam, had like several matches on it. The card looked great, but no, not on, which is why there's a lot of question on why would you do a massive title change when only you're the national audience. How many people? I mean, yes, Japanese wrestling is still obviously a lot bigger, but it is still pretty niche. And so to do a title change there is very interesting. I'm sure there's some kind of Tana and Gedo logic behind it, but to have Goto, who has been so over with Japanese fans, it's just, and to have his title reign in like that, and to the man that he beat to become champion, right? And didn't Goto beat Zack? Isn't that who he beat to become champion, or am I misremembering? I think that's who he beat. But
no, you're right. That's right.
Somebody made a point, or somebody asked me, she was like, if that were the case that, they are doing it for the large TV audience, she was like, if they don't really watch wrestling, then how do they know who Zack is? Like, wouldn't it have made sense to drop the title to a Japanese hero that people are familiar with? And I was like, I mean, I guess there's Tokyo Sports, and he was on the cover of Tokyo Sports and all that. So I was like, maybe
which really
there's that.
Happen.
So obviously my initial reaction, I'm sure like somebody will have some logical reason for it, but my initial reaction is, why the hell would you have Goto A, drop the title, B, to Zack Sabre Jr.? And yes, I know the G1 is coming up and Zack will go and champion 2 years in a row, but like, why did you do Goto like that?
Like, I will be very interested to hear what Jeremy and Steven have to say on Thursday.
Sure. And I get it. Like, Goto was I'm surprised, and I mentioned it after Dominion. I'm surprised that Goto has kept the title for as long as he had. I thought they were just going to do they were basically just, it was a thank you for everything you've done for us. Our fans really love you. We're going to give you this moment. So I guess like the title reign did go on longer than I expected it to. I would not have expected the title his title reign in there. And and again, if you've watched the show before, Mel and I are huge Zack Sabre Jr. fans. So it's not like
I'm not mad that he's IWGP Heavyweight Champion. I never would be. That's really, really weird.
Yeah.
That's strange. And I don't know what that means even.
Well, yeah. And so Brad says that you don't usually do title changes prior to the G1 without having a reason. Usually it's the certain people are beating and not beating the champions.
Fair.
And then Goto is awesome. Yes, somebody asked a question. Yes, Goto has been a solid champion for his part. I love Goto.
Well, and I'm glad that he got it after being there for so long.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's important that I feel like at least that was fulfilled, for better or worse.
Yeah. Anthony asks, who are the top Japanese female wrestling prospects that WWE fans and AEW fans should focus on that they might sign? This is not a question that I am great at answering, just because there are people in this chat who can probably answer. So Anthony, if you hang around for a minute, I'm sure there are people in the chat who are much more familiar with Japanese women's wrestling. I know a little bit about it and I've seen things here and there, but unfortunately Japanese wrestling, women's wrestling is not somewhere that is definitely not my expertise, and not, if I had more time to watch wrestling, I would watch it more. And there's names that I hear, like, for me personally, I would say Bozilla, just because I am a bit more familiar with her, because I've seen her wrestle. She wrestled, she just wrestled at during Joey Janela's spring break. She wrestled Megan Bayne, and she was really impressive.
What was her name?
Bozilla.
Oh, Bozilla. Yeah. Okay, yes. I've heard of her. I've seen her around.
And she is not she's not Japanese. She wrestles in Japan. She's not Japanese. She's I believe she's German. She's only like 21 years old. And I believe she just finished with Marigold, and she just showed up in, I believe it was I believe she just showed up in Stardom, and I believe she is trying to challenge for that, because there is as Crash mentions, there is a new IWGP women's champion. And so yes, she did just jump to Stardom. Brad says that as a Joshi fan, keep AEW WWE away from all Joshi's wrestling.
I think that my Joshi friends would probably largely agree with that. We also have Scotty Wrestling here on this network, who is
for sure
the go-to guy for Joshi Wrestling, period, the end.
On
any
Fridays,
question you have, he can answer it.
Yes, probably. You can. Yeah, he has a show every Friday on this network. It's called 5-Star Joshi Show, and Scott is. I mean, Brad is, very knowledgeable as well. But
Brad is our Joshi historian.
Yeah, Scott Edwards is he knows just like anything you would want to know. He would have an answer for you. So I'm sorry that we can't give you a more clear answer. Like I said, Bozilla is somebody. Sari just won. That's who just won the IWGP strong title, right? Am I remembering that right? I believe that's who won.
I'm like the worst. I'm even worse.
It just happened within the last. I should
be watching, but I don't, because I'm
pretty sure
that I can't watch it
Brad
all.
said he learned everything from Scott.
And Brad knows a good chunk a lot about Joshi, so as you can tell from his name.
This says, who do you think the next company that WWE might partner up with for WWID programs so that they can scout their talent for WWE? That's a good question because there's so much good talent out there. My whole thing with the ID thing is it sounds good on paper, and I want people to get paid for the wrestling that they do. So if they are getting an increase in pay, that's huge. I hope in theory and on paper it sounds good. I'm just concerned. We saw what they did to the UK indies, and that's my concern here. But they don't seem to be putting as much focus on it lately. Like I know
a lot of those people just go at this.
Yeah,
point.
I know that Sean Legacy they have been using more in NXT. And he came from, they had him and they ID'd him, or no, he was in the Evolve program. And then Marcus Mathers is the one that they've used a lot. But as far as as far as the next company, that's somebody probably on the West Coast, depending on if that's who they want to work, that those companies want to work. I would say maybe like Defy and West Coast Pro, like they've got a ton of really great indie wrestlers. But again, like if it's something that's going to benefit both companies, because like you don't want to just have these indie companies get you don't want these indie companies to get like just all their talent get signed and then
they're going to use
this kills them.
Like they're going to use this Evolve program to do a lot of that, if anything. Because at this point, I feel like they're just going to go do the thing that they've always done, which is they'll hear about somebody hot, AEW will take interest in them, they'll just go buy them. It'll go back to being like it was when they were talent hoarding.
That's my concern. Like I really again, I said on paper, like it sounds really great.
But it feels like it's unraveling. I mean, it really does because the people that they have that they want are in the PC, and the rest of them were kind of like they were using they used a bunch of like when Freedom Ramsey was out there, they used him on that. They used him in Vegas, and then right after that, they untagged him, so he's out in the wind now.
Yeah. So. Yeah, they did untag. And then Brad says they stopped ID tagging people a while ago. They don't seem to care about doing that anymore. Yeah, I don't know what.
I think they're just quietly letting it fade into the background while they're using other avenues that they've got that they're trying to plug with like NXT and Evolve.
That's right. Chris Hero, West Coast Pro. That's right. Chris Hero books their shows. And so, yeah.
Yeah, no, you won't be working with them. And that's okay.
Crash.
Yeah, I know. Wait, is that what happened this weekend, or is that still coming?
No, that was So Friday night SmackDown was in Saudi Arabia, and then yesterday was Night of Champions. It was during the day.
Are they back?
They were starting to. I think some of them were supposed to come home last night because they're going to be on their SmackDown, the Raw and SmackDown, or well, they'll be Raw is live at SmackDown. They're taping, so some of the talent was flying in. Like I think I saw something that some of them were going to have a pretty quick turnaround because they were going to be because like the entire men's SmackDown division, just about except for maybe Pretty Deadly, was on the Friday night SmackDown show. So like it was. DIY, Motor City, Los Garza, the Wyatts were there, and so I think Pretty Deadly was like the only tag team that was not there, and so
they flying into a war zone.
They used them in that. It was they used it to interfere with the tag match because it was a backstage segment. Then it went into that, and so I'm guessing they all probably flew back pretty soon after so that they could. I'm sure they're filming SmackDown tomorrow.
So they can normalize working in a country where they bonesaw journalists. But whatever.
Well, it's going to be interesting when they do the Royal Rumble there. Especially for the Women's Rumble, because from what I could tell, that didn't seem like on Friday night that the women were really getting much of a reaction from the crowd. Like they were a bit, but it just seems like they just didn't really... I mean, some of them, like some of the fans that you could see, they cut to a couple of crowd shots, and like they were really excited. Some of them seemed into it, but overall,
Were
It
there
didn't
men and
appear-
women in the crowd?
No.
was
Not that I could see. I mean, it
It
could
was
have
just
been as much
men,
as-
right?
Well, if I remember correctly, women have to have permission of men to go,
That's what I'm saying.
so they would have to be with them.
Be with
but
their
I
man.
don't- Right. So from what I
So that's why I guess kind of I
from
was
the
wondering.
shots that I saw, I don't recall seeing any women in the crowd. Again, I didn't watch Night of Champions, so that could be completely different. But from watching SmackDown, I don't recall seeing women in the crowd.
It seems like
But the women have gotten, I will say, when they first started, they basically had to wear like t-shirts over
I remember.
stuff. Now they have like gear that they're having made for the shows that are like full body outfits, but like Tiffany Stratton's outfit was very cute, and they had like they've definitely evolved from that point, which I know it's still sports washing. It is what it is. I mean,
yeah, I mean it's just my guess. In the end, it's like, why, where you have a male-based culture where they don't see women doing that, nor do they have any impetus to have women see women doing that, I would not expect them to.
But they have had women on the card at the Saudi shows for the last several years, so it's not like it's a surprise. And they did,
but it's probably just, you're right, it's probably just trying to sports wash it, that look, we have women on there, we're progressing, but we're really not.
That's what they were doing in the beginning when they started bringing women in. That's what they were like, oh look, we're helping that was their WWE.
We're
helping
progress.
We're helping make progress for women by having women wrestle on the show, and we're making it, progress for women in Saudi Arabia at the same time that women were getting in trouble for driving cars without
their husband's permission.
And so,
well, that it's
they
the
did.
thing.
So
I mean, getting from you're allowed to drive with your husband's permission versus not being allowed to drive at all is, I guess, progress. It's just, and I know incremental change happens, but yeah, I have nothing good to say about that. So I'll just keep my
Friday
mouth
shut. Friday they had two women's matches. Friday night.
Just hope they're safe.
Night of Champions had the Queen of, they had two matches. They had the Queen of the Ring final, and they had the street fight with Rhea Ripley and Raquel Rodriguez. So I'm sure that Roxanne Perez was out there for that. So they did have women on that show. But supposedly they are still doing the Women's Rumble, because Brett says $50 if they don't do a Women's Rumble on the pay-per-view, and they do a separate pay-per-view on Raw when they listen. Nothing would surprise me, Brad, when it comes to that. I mean, maybe they'll do Evolution.
WWE gonna WWE
Evolution 2.5. 2.5.
3.16 3.15. Oh no. Anyway, so yeah, cool. So that was our WWE segment, I guess. There,
I guess so.
I just hope everyone's gets back safe.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything. I haven't really been able to look, so I haven't heard if they've been able, if they've had travel issues. Because when going into it, there was the TV crew. So some of the TV crew went in prior, and then some went in leading up to it, and they were stuck in Qatar when the stuff with Israel and Iran were happening, and so they were stuck, but they eventually made it. And as far as I've heard, I believe like all the wrestlers made it there with no issues, and then we'll see getting out of it. Hopefully,
and I mean they had that problem they had when things were normal in the area as it would be as much.
But that's because Vince was fighting.
Well, I know he was fighting with the prince. He was fighting with the prince of a sovereign nation, but whatever.
And then, but they did Friday night though, because obviously, so what we saw on SmackDown at the normal time obviously had aired live on Netflix, and it went 10 minutes into the show. The feed went down. They started having technical difficulties, and they had like over half an hour where there was nothing happening because they were trying to fix the technical stuff. I don't know if they ever determined like what the issue was, or at least not that I have seen. And so they had to, so for the live crowd, like they opened with Cody and Randy doing promos for their King of the Ring match the next night. and that's when it went down. And it went down during that. So Randy Orton apparently stayed out there and talked to the crowd. And then his music played and he went around and talked to people like in the front row and took pictures and stuff like that. And then they sent Cody Rhodes back out there, and they sent Carmelo Hayes out there in street clothes, and he ate a crossroads. And then I was like, you brought like the entire men's SmackDown division, and you couldn't just be like, go have an impromptu match. You don't think Motor City can't put on an impromptu match with anybody? Like, and DIY, like, just go send the two. They're veterans. They're like 20-year veterans. Go send them out there to do a quick match for the fans while they're waiting. But then, so when it aired here on TV, they had fixed it. It looks like, bless them, their footage looked like it was recorded on a cell phone.
Oh, good Lord.
The camera was just really oddly, like the camera stuff that they use. I don't know what they filmed it on. So they did have the segment, but then they had like quick commercial. Like after that got done, they like started the next thing, and then it quickly went to commercial. Then they did the next, and then they came back, that quickly went to commercial again. But I guess it's because they were trying to fill that half-hour gap that got mixed up. But they made it work the best that they could. But then we had one of our writers is in the UK, and he was watching on Netflix, and it still had not been fixed. It was still he still had a half an hour where nothing really was happening. And so he was like, well, I guess I'm just going to work on my article while nothing is happening. So yeah. And so as far as I know, there were no issues with Night of Champions yesterday, but I don't know. I could have missed it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Lucky you.
Yes.
Lucky you not.
All right. For real, we're really going to get to our topics now.
Let's get to our topic.
So they announced earlier this week that AEW, because obviously what are we, 14 days away from 13 days away from All In? It was 2 weeks ago yesterday, right? So not this coming Saturday, but the Saturday after.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Oh, yeah.
So 2 weeks from yesterday.
Right, because coming up a week from Friday is 4th of July. So yes, it's the second week of July. So not next week, but the week after.
Yes.
Which is a great time to remind everybody that we will be here on Saturday for the pre-show, not Sunday.
I will hashtag not be in Arlington because hotels are ridiculously expensive, and I had to do car stuff earlier this year, and that's where all my money went. is to the car show. So I mean, to my car, which I'm like, obviously priorities and things and first world issues, I know. But I am very sad that I don't get to go, and I'm going to be missing out because a lot of people I know will be there. So I'm also bummed about that. So I definitely will have FOMO, but I am glad to be here with you guys. We love doing our pre-show. Yeah. And you guys are always fun to talk to before that. So I'm looking forward to that. But yes, so they did the All In. They're doing a gauntlet matches because there will be a men's gauntlet match and a women's gauntlet match on All In, and the winner of the gauntlet match gets a future title shot. But I believe they specified for the world title. I don't believe it's like it could be for TNT or TBS. Like I believe they specified for the world title in both of them. So they had a match on Wednesday in both brackets both tournaments to determine who would be the number one entrant for the Battle Royal. For the tournament. So on the women's side of things, we had Athena, Thunder Rosa, Chris Statlander, and Willow. And then so obviously, and then Athena came out there with Billy, of course. And so this match was really interesting because there was obviously various ways that it could go. I kind of figured it would come down to Willow and Chris, especially because of the week prior when Chris had the run-in with Jon Moxley, who she had a really great reaction to him. Like she's shaking. Like she treated Jon Moxley the way he's supposed to have been treated with this whole Death Rider story. Like people are supposed to be afraid of him. He's supposed to be that scary. And like BJ reminded me, like the Young Bucks are afraid of him. That's why they're working with the Death Riders, because they fear him. Mm-hmm. And so Chris had like an appropriate reaction. Like her hands were shaking when Jon approached her because she had dropped her phone because of Yuta. And he has her phone and he's holding it and her hands are shaking. And I was like, this is an appropriate response. This is how we're supposed to have been treating Death Riders. They're supposed, except Willow, because Willow fears no man, no woman.
Willow fears no one.
Willow fears nobody. So except for Willow, they're supposed to fear him. And then he gives her this really good advice that just don't let people tell you who you are. And Yuta has been telling her, stop worrying about Willow, like move on, which listen, we've moved on from Swerve and Hangman. Like we can come back and revisit Willow versus Stat, but Wheeler Yuta is correct. Like we need to move on. Like Chris is letting this hold her back. Like it's time to go on. Yes, she did understand the assignment.
True that.
And so the match does come down between Willow and Chris. Of course, Marina and Yuta come out there. Yuta got pounced out of the ring. It was great, or nearly out of the ring. And it was funny because he had fallen down on the outside and he tried to use Marina to help him up, and Marina like shoved him. Poor Yuta just gets abused from everybody. Bless his heart.
He's a little jerk, so he gets treated accordingly.
This is true.
He's the best little jerk in the world.
Remember, and we tried to tell people when Yuta first started, and they were just not.
That's why people should listen to us.
They couldn't see the future that we saw. They couldn't see the vision we saw. Granted, that was Blackpool Combat Club Yuta, not Death Riders Yuta. But Yuta is very good at playing the role that he plays. So.
He totally is. It's credit where credit's due. He definitely steps up too. He's hilarious.
And so that played into Stat winning. And so it'll be interesting how they address that. Did John send Marina out there, or was Marina coming to cost Willow because of the feud that they've had, the ongoing thing? So was she there to cost Willow, or did Moxley, are they scouting Stat? And Mox kind of was like, go help her. We need to set her on the right track. Like, so that'll be kind of interesting to see how they do that. And so Chris is the number one. So she gets the number one spot in the tournament at All In. So this doesn't mean that the other three who are not in it doesn't mean that they will not be in the tournament. It just means that they are not the number one person. And then on the men's side of things, we had Mark Briscoe, Roderick Strong, Takeshita. Who am I forgetting? I'm forgetting one person who was in that match. It was why am I forgetting who it was? Bandito.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Okay.
And I couldn't kind of, at first I was like, did they give it to, I was like, Bandito has been on such a roll. Did they give it to Bandito? But then Bandito has the ROH world title, and not that he has to go for the world title anytime soon, but I was like, I don't think that. So it's kind of, and then I was like, well, they do they have Takeshita do it? And then I was like, but Mark Briscoe makes sense, especially with the lead up to it where Mark Briscoe comes out and he is talking to MJF and telling him the word of the day is empathy. And then telling him he has a kosher pickle in his pants. And that's why he's mean and that's why he's sad. So, they had that nice little thing, which it came out afterwards that apparently MJF has been wanting to work with Mark Briscoe for a while. And so nice. they are starting a program, which should be really interesting. So
that's interesting. So, I'm up for that.
This makes me, I feel like another reason this will be good is because when MJF cares about something, it's very obvious, and that's when he like shows up and like is the MJF we know he can be when he cares. And so
not cheap heat MJF.
Yes, right.
Uncreative and semi cheap.
Yeah, lazy promo MJF. Yes. So Mark Briscoe, obviously he wins. He is the number one. He's the number one entrant into the Gauntlet, and it was funny because I don't know if you saw it, but AEW aired afterwards. It was on their social media. It was a segment with or a backstage promo with Mark Briscoe, Willow, and Hologram. Who, if you missed on not this last collision, but the collision before, Hologram is now officially in the conglomeration.
Okay, and that I did know.
The three of them are standing together, and Willow is a little sad because she didn't win, and But Mark did. So she asked Mark, could you give me a word of the day? And it was like, he just gave her this, like, he hyped her up, gave her this speech, and was like, it was really cute the way they handled it. And then Mark was like, I won my spot. And he was like, some people say that, being number one isn't good. And he, in a gauntlet, but he was like, but being number one, he was like, I could beat number two. Or he's like, I could beat number two before number three even gets out there.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, or I can beat number three. And he's like, and then it's just over with. And then I have the title shot. So it was really funny. But then he was like telling Willow, like, well, if you come in later, like that can be good too. So it was just a nice little moment that they had. And then he's hyping up holograms too. And so I don't think the next women's gauntlet match has been announced, but the men's one has. So for Dynamite 300, so MJF is in this match. He is competing to enter at spot number 2 in the gauntlet. And so it's MJF versus Brody King versus Anthony Bowens versus AR Fox. So I was like, that seems like a ton of fun. Seems pretty obvious where they're going to go with that. I mean,
AR Fox has been really, really great lately.
I
mean, he always has been, but
good.
he is like showing
really
out lately.
He's really hit his stride.
He is like in the zone.
And then like
right
they
now.
have I've really enjoyed what they've been doing with him. And
Me too.
I mean, I'm a little nervous that they've put him in this match to be pinned. Probably when you look at the other 3 people in this match, but somebody has to eat the pin. And then Brad brings up a good point. So, MJF, so MLW had a show Friday, and Mystico, who works for MLW sometimes, was in the ring, and because I ended up seeing the clip, and it was really well done. He starts getting attacked by these masked people, and then this last person comes out, attacks him, pulls off the mask, and it's MJF, and I was not expecting that. And so obviously they wrestled at Grand Slam Mexico. So it seems like this feud's not over. He did the MLW, and MLW is where MJF used to wrestle before he was signed with AEW. That's where Alex Hammerstone is at, and I believe Richard Holiday is also there. So
and they used to be a faction, right?
Yes, they did. Yes.
They were like, what were they called? Like the Varsity or something like that?
I don't remember what they were called. Brad may know.
I can't remember, but I do remember that he was in Yeah,
and so Brad says, don't be surprised to see MJF lose the match this Wednesday due to Mystico interference. That's a really good point. I had forgotten about that.
The dynasty. Yeah. Thank you.
The dynasty.
Yeah, I couldn't remember. I was like, it was something weird like that. It was like some like, we're so great. Okay. Well,
Crash says that Mark Briscoe's word of the week is optimistic. Yes. Actually, you know what? I think that was his word of the week.
I love Mark Briscoe.
Brad says
and this is so true.
Lazy, if MJF gets lazy on the mic, Mark will eat him alive. That's the truth, because that's one thing that Mark Briscoe can do. Is he can talk
he is great. He never fails on the mic, man. That guy is so great and funny.
Yeah, it's like he could do that.
That dude could like get on there and talk about a sandwich and make it interesting. It's the funniest thing in the world. He's so good like that.
Yeah, he knows how to play the crowd. I mean, he's very good at it. Maria says she's not crazy about the Casino Gauntlet matches. Yeah, I wasn't really sure. I mean, I think they're just trying to fill up time to get us to all in, and it's a way to bully, like we've bullied Tony two shows in a row now, the Collision prior, and then this week's Dynamite to get Athena Elite Wrestling, as she calls it. So we got her on TV so sometimes bullying works. Jermaine says, I still believe MJF is winning the Casino Royale due to its really made Hell Casino. Wait, I'm just reading that. I still believe MJF is winning due to it's really made for Hell Casino Royale due to it's really made for him. Well, and he does have the Dynamite Diamond ring.
Oh, so I forgot about that.
And so and so I'm interested because obviously when these tournaments were announced, people started thinking like, well, who can be in these tournaments, and who's coming back, who could debut, and so like for the men's side, unfortunately, quite a few people could return from injury there because the men have they've been injured a lot lately, and so I'm hoping this is where Mark Davis returns.
Oh, that'd be
I
so
hope
great.
that he was really getting on a roll before he got injured. He clearly on his Insta story, he's riding his bike, so I hope that means that his
Cool.
foot is healed from his fracture. So I'm hoping that's where he returns. I've seen people say Jay White, but I'd never heard a timeline of how long he was supposed to be out. So I don't know. Orange Cassidy, obviously, I don't think he was supposed to be back anytime soon because he tore his pec.
Right.
And so, I mean, obviously, Super Cody was being like Super Cena and came back early. So I don't know that Orange Cassidy will come back that fast. I would not. I don't know that I'd have Eddie Kingston return there. I mean, August.
There's so much already going on at All In.
Right. I would have him. I just don't think I'd have him return in a tournament. I think I'd have him return somewhere else. But I've seen his name pop up. But because originally, it was always August was when he was the projected term. But then I know he's been working harder. He's been trying to come back sooner. So, I mean, All In's not out of the possibility. But if he comes back, I think it'll be to do something with a death right. Unless he comes back and he wins unless he wins the tournament and then he tries to come for Jon Moxley, but then that would mean that Jon Moxley is going to win All In, and I don't think that's happening. I don't think I think the Hangman's winning. But so, you have those other people. I have very long shot would be Scorpio Sky. I guess maybe I did tell Nikki that I wonder if they're going to bring Wardlow back to TV soon since American Gladiators is going to premiere. I don't remember what the premiere date is, but he's going to be on TV, which is why I'm wondering if Camille comes back on the women's side because we haven't seen her either. She is also going to be on American Gladiators. Alex Windsor, I think, probably debuts there because we knew that she signed on Collision. We got the vignette from her introducing herself or reintroducing herself because we have seen her in AEW television before. So I think she probably debuts there. Some people think Britt Baker is going to return there. I feel like
I don't know about that.
Possible, but
I mean, it's always possible. I don't know about that.
I hope that they put my initial reaction when I heard about this tournament was I hope they put Nyla Rose in it. I hope they put Emi Sakura in it, and I hope they put Yuka in it. I don't know. I know not Riho. Shida is dealing with visa issues. I can't remember if Riho has been cleared yet because she had broken her hand. I don't remember can't remember off the top of my head what her status was. But I was like, I'd really like to see. But then I thought, I don't know if Texas has similar laws to Oklahoma when it comes to transgender wrestlers. And so
You probably do.
I don't know. I didn't think about that until like a day or two later. And I was like, ooh, I don't know.
It depends on the county too, probably.
Right. I was like, so I don't know if Nyla would be, if that would be an issue for her to try to be in that tournament. But if she can wrestle with no issues, then I would love to see Nyla there because I miss her. And I would like to see her on my TV. I was like, she doesn't have to win the tournament. I would just like her to be in it because she is one of the women who was in the early days of the tournament. And not in the tournament, in the early days of the women's division. So I would like to see some of these OG women get to be in this tournament. But I do feel like they'll probably, I guess they're going to put Athena in it, which I'm not. We'll get to that decision, but I am not thrilled about her having to be on the show in a tournament, potentially entering in a tournament versus getting a singles match because the singles match has been confirmed for Supercard of Honor, which we will get to. But I'm a lot annoyed about that, that she might get it. I mean, if she gets on the card, I guess she gets on the card, so yay for that. But also, like, the singles match was right there. Has Darby come down the mountain yet? Because I haven't heard anything about him. Is he still?
I have no idea. I actually don't know.
I haven't even heard if he's made it back. But even if he has made it back, you have to reacclimate to being in a normal environment that's not, thousands of feet in the air. he can't, and that's just reacclimating. That's not even wrestling. You can't. He's probably got to train some. I don't see him if he comes to All In. I would maybe it's an appearance, but maybe he gets a little physical. But I don't see him being anywhere near being ready for a match, even though it is Darby, and you never know. But I don't think Darby.
I mean, you get a huge pop, that's for sure.
Yeah. So as far as I know, I have not heard anything about Darby being off that mountain.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about Darby Allin in a really long time.
It takes you 6 weeks to get up at it, so it's going to take you at least another 6 weeks to get back down it.
I guess.
If the weather conditions, depending on how they hold up, and I haven't heard an update about him since he broke that record for doing what was it? He did like the backflip or moonsault, or he did whatever it was that he did, and he broke the Guinness World Record. That's the last update I've heard. I haven't heard an update about him since then. I mean, it's possible I just completely missed it, but I haven't heard anything. Jack Perry is somebody I considered too, but I don't know.
I don't know what's up with Jack either.
Maria, that crossed my mind too.
That could happen.
Which, depending on how his health is progressing, because he was backstage a couple months ago, kind of visiting with everybody. So, I guess maybe depending on his health. Another name that came up, I mean, apparently Creative has nothing for him, but he was talking to fans online the other day. I mean, there's always Keith Lee.
Oh, man.
Because the people were asking, and he said he's been clear. He's been ready to go. He's been cleared. It just hasn't. He said he'll return when he's supposed to, and it'll work out when it's supposed to. And then it was kind of followed up with, I guess Fightful kind of looked into it and basically just said, yeah, he's ready to go. And there's just
nothing
for him. So, I mean, I guess it's certainly possible, depending on if they have come to, some sort of a storyline type thing for him. But, I feel like Keith Lee is probably an outside chance. I feel like Jack Perry probably has a better chance of returning.
Yeah. I tend to agree with you, unfortunately.
Which is unfortunate. But then, no, Adam Copeland's ready to come back. But Christian is the reason he's not back yet. So the report that came out last week sometime was the original plan was for Cope and Christian to team up at All In. And Cope was not supposed to be gone this long. But Christian said that he wanted to see the story through with the patriarchy. He wants to see things through with Nick Wayne. That's who he's been working with. He didn't feel like their story, it was time for that to end. And he told them no. And now Nick Wayne and Christian are Christian wants to be the first father-son tag team in AEW. So that's what's happening. And so there's not really anything for Cope right now. So perhaps he returns it All In. Maybe they hold him off a little bit longer until they figure out what they're going to do with him. But apparently he's been ready to go and was supposed to have been back already. And then Christian was like, no, me and the patriarchy are doing stuff, and I'm not ready to end this to start this story. So sorry. Which also, since we're speaking of tag teams, I can't remember if I mentioned it on here, but there was a report that came out like 2 weeks ago that the plan for Wembley last year was Motor City versus the Young Bucks.
Ooh.
Had they signed, that was the plan. And then
that would have been, especially now, it would be great to see that now that they're all grown up. And
yes. And so I'm very sad. Maybe one day soon, or not soon, maybe one day in the future. But they are both teams are getting on the other side of their careers. So who knows? But yeah, what could have been? That made me very sad when I found out.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, that sucks.
Yes. Jermaine says Willow will cost Stat the Casino Royale. Casino Royal, which leads to Athena winning the match because Athena will drop the ROH women's title. No, she's not. I'm going to tell you why when we get to the Supercard of Honor matches. She is.
It's on our notes.
No, I will tell you why I don't think she's losing that title. But again, I could be very wrong because we are
right sometimes and we are wrong sometimes.
Because that's what happens when you predict wrestling. But I will tell you why. I have
lots of real business.
But I don't. But yeah, so these gauntlet matches could be. It's hard to say now, like who to predict to win because we don't know who else is going to be in them. I mean, obviously Mark Briscoe and MJF. MJF's whole reason of being with the Hurt business is, I mean, the Hurt Syndicate is to. He said he wants gold. He wants to get his title back. He wants his Triple B back. So that is certainly the way to do it, is by having him win this. And then you could assuming Hangman is the one who wins, who wins the title, then you could restart that feud. But then there's Mark Briscoe, which I don't know that they're going to put a world title on this Mark Briscoe in 2026.
I don't know.
I mean, unless they're giving him a go-to run.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe the TNT title, but probably not the world title. But who knows? I mean, Tony Khan loves him. So.
I'd love to see him win the TNT title and do the thing where they go back to making their own titles out of it. Because I'd love to see a Mark Briscoe TNT title.
Can you imagine what that would look like?
I can and I can't, and it's like my interest is piqued. Because it would be really cool.
For sure.
Because I liked when they were personalizing it.
Yeah, I don't know who. I don't know that either number one seed wins. However, if a number one seed was going to win, I think it would be Stat. Because a lot of people feel she's long overdue for a women's title run. So they could certainly do that. So I mean, but again, I think it just depends on who all's in the tournament. So I think that I'm trying not to get my hopes up. I don't think there's going to be a ton of returns or like signings there, like in this tournament, because I'm trying not to. I think the tournament will mostly be made up of people who are already on the roster. They may have one or two debuts, especially because the last one which show was it that had no debuts? It was the Double or Nothing had no debuts, which was really interesting because that was the first time that they had a Double or Nothing where nobody debuted. So, you know, Alex Windsor would be debuting as being all elite because she's been on AEW programming.
Didn't they announce that she was all elite this week?
Yes, I think they announced it during when she did the vignette
Collision or something.
I think she was on Collision, but I believe that they did. I think she did announce that she was all elite, which we knew that she had signed because she had her rest. She announced that she had her final indie show like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and that she had signed. Brad says Mark is just happy being on TV, having great matches and having fun. I don't think he cares all about winning, which is awesome before. I think if Mark Briscoe retires without ever becoming the AEW World Champion, I think he would
not going to mean anything about his legacy.
Before I get to Jermaine's comment, I did want to go back to this. Brad says that if Darby shows up, it'll be at the end of the show to try to help Hangman, which I could see that. And some people think that Sting will be on this show in some capacity because he lives in Texas and they used him when they originally announced the show. He was one of the wrestlers they had out there to kind of help sell it. So I don't expect him to wrestle. Maybe he jumps off of something high.
Yeah.
Maybe he does that. But I wouldn't be surprised if they find a way to use him. I mean, like, he's not going to be in the tournament or anything like that. I don't think that's happening, but I wouldn't be surprised to see that either. So Jermaine says, Mercedes was awesome this past Dynamite with the beginning of the show attack on Tony and the triple F-bomb promo she dropped on Tony on Collision. I think Mercedes will have something for Mina. Yeah, Mercedes was great. She's definitely, like, finally hit her stride. Like, when she first came in, she was struggling with the promos and stuff, and she just was not connecting, even though like we talked about how when she was on other shows like in Japan and stuff, like her wrestling was great and she was connecting, but for some reason in AEW she just could not do it. And then ever since she's figured it out, she's starting to really doing great. I really enjoy what she's doing, and I think her and Tony I think even though I disagree with the match being what it is, I know they're going to deliver. And it's not that I don't want to see the match. I just don't think this was the show. I think it should have, well, we talked about it last week that it should have been Mercedes and Athena and Tony and Jamie. And yes, I know Jamie has a concussion. And that was the other thing. If Jamie is cleared for from her concussion, I wouldn't be surprised to see her return at the Gauntlet if she's cleared.
That makes sense. I mean, that would,
even if she doesn't win it, I can see her. Well, she could win it though, because she got screwed out of her shot so
that could be a pretty good potential main for Wembley, or potential match for Wembley, depending on.
Yeah, and then again, like we keep going back to, there's All Out in Toronto,
right?
Too, that they've got to do stuff for. Yes, Mark Briscoe is one of the rare talents that doesn't really need a title. He's been so well decorated over the year anyway. He can still have great programs though in order to elevate younger talent, which is kind of what he would be doing with MJF, who, obviously MJF is pretty established, but you don't want him to get kind of stuck where he's at, kind of stale, which kind of is a little bit. And so and I know
Mark Briscoe's a totally different kind of wrestler, so that's kind of a fun prospect to get to see what he can bring out of MJF.
Right. It's something I think that MJF needs
I agree.
right now in his career, especially because a lot of people, like, they were really enjoying his stuff with Adam Cole, and then he was just kind of spinning his wheels and not really doing anything. And then he hasn't, they would just see him trying to get into the Hurt Syndicate, and that was fun for a few weeks, and then you're just like, okay, now what? And so starting a program with Mark Briscoe, I think, makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
I think this is a good time to do it too.
I like it.
Yeah, I like it too. So also, I did want to mention, while we were talking, I put a note in here. So while we were talking about the Gauntlet matches, I did see an update this week about the AEW women's tag team titles, potentially. So Body Slam had an exclusive that the women's titles have been made for a year. They've had them. And it's unclear from what Body Slam has, just from what they're reporting has uncovered, is if they're actually even going to do anything with them, or if it's just going to be, because, things happen in wrestling, you make plans and then things change, obviously, literally card subject to change. So, and they've had them for a year. Maybe they're just waiting on the right timing. I will go back to the media call that I was on with Tony Khan a few weeks ago. Somebody asked him, of course, they asked about the women's tag team titles. Seems like there's, more interest in them. Tony gave, I guess, a pretty optimistic answer. And he said, yes, it was certainly possible. And it seems like since then, he has been testing out women's tag teams and kind of seeing the reaction that they get from fans, how they work together in the ring. We've been seeing more Penelope and Megan working together. Obviously, we were seeing Anna Jay and Harley, and then Harley was injured. And so we've seen the return of Ty J because they were a team before. And we've seen kind of that stuff. And then Collision, I think we had Tekla and Queen Aminata kind of join those. So it was more of a trios. So maybe they're just kind of testing. So it seems to me like they're still testing things out, trying to figure out gauge reaction from fans, to figure out what teams there would be, how they work together and things like that. So I feel like it seems more likely than a year ago. It's hard to tell with Tony.
It's so hard to tell.
Yeah. So yeah, so that was just an interesting update that they've had titles for a year. Are they gonna actually do something with them? I hope so.
It seems like they are kind of starting to make tag teams out of the women.
Yeah.
A little bit. And it seems like they are going back to some more tag team wrestling with the men too, which I like.
Yeah.
So maybe they'll really start putting some more emphasis back on that, because they had like the best match of all time, and it was a tag match.
Yeah. So it'll be really interesting. So again, people are like, oh, they think All In is when they're going to announce it. I was like, I personally think that I don't see women's tag titles before the end of this year. Maybe they announce them and get a tournament started, but you've got this.
Thinking, it's like you break it out of my head. I was just literally thinking they announced a tournament for it that they culminates at All Out or Wembley.
That would be too, but see Wembley is first. I think that's too short because Wembley is then Wembley's next month, and then I think that's too short. I don't think it'll happen. That they can't even get the pure ROH title tournament going. I don't think that's too soon. I think, but then assuming obviously they're going to merge the international and continental titles, so a C2 remains to be seen. If they're still doing, I hope that they're keeping the C2
because that was really great.
So if they're doing that in December going into January, then the women's tournament would probably start after that next year, would be my guess. I feel like titles won't come till next year sometime, if they're coming at all. But we shall see. Brad says he can't fault Tony for doing it this way. Instead of throwing the titles out there without a plan, planting seeds and trying things out is much better. And people have been asking for it for a really long time, but like we said, you got to get your 2 titles that you already have. You got to figure those out first. Because especially
treat it the other company treated it, because that was a joke and it's always been a joke. And we don't want that. We want, if the women's tag team title comes, it needs to be, I don't want to say organic, but it needs to make sense. It needs to be reality. Like, it needs to have a good.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be a one-off. I don't want it to be like, here's a tag team thing, and then they never do tag team, women's tag team.
Yeah.
Or
and
barely do it. They're struggling to get more than one women's match on an episode, period.
Yeah, and Dynamite is still like that for the most part. And Collision usually has 2 women's matches, but not always. And then, because like we joked about, like we get a quarterly Dynamite with 2 women's matches on it. It's like once a quarter now. And so, I mean, yes, it gets more women on the screen, but then, yes, I have the pros and cons with it. I do like that they seem to kind of be just testing things out with potential teams, because we've talked about like the men's tag team division has not been great for a really long time. And if you can't book your men's division, then I know sure as hell you can't book your women's tag team division, because your women's division was secondary for a very long time, and it's finally getting to a much better place. And granted, obviously things still need to be improved upon, but it's a lot better than it has been. I think it's probably the best that it's ever been. So, I'm cautiously optimistic that they can now do women's tag titles. But we also got to fix our men's tag team division too. And then there's been conversation about that, because the Hurt Syndicate is, they have ran through every tag team and they're not building anybody up. Jet Speed was the closest they had, and they put them through tables the other night, which granted, I still think that's good. I still think that match is happening at All In, and that's a team that people love. I still think the Hurt Syndicate was going to lose to Hounds of Hell, but Buddy Murphy got injured. He said like 2 weeks ago that the foot is not healing the way that he thought it was going to heal. There is no time frame on his return. So what does that mean for the tag team division? Are you just going to, I assume that the Hurt Syndicate will hold the titles for a little bit longer. I guess they're eventually going to get to the point where I guess they're going to drop them to Nick and Christian. It seems like that's where they're going. But then like you have the Gates of Agony, who have been doing really well. It seems like they're getting ready to pair them with Ricochet, which is interesting. The infantry they're not really using anymore. Horseman got laid the hell out, and I was like, I don't think they buried them by any means, but like they came back and they just immediately got laid out by Big Bill and Brian Keith. So I'm like, what are we doing with the tag team division? So there are still a lot of questions on the men's side of things, which makes me question the women's side of things, but we'll see how that goes. We have some questions in the comments about Fernandez says if Timeless loses the title, she can bring back Thunderstorm. They could.
There you go.
So you could have Thunderstorm be the first women's champion. Yeah, Crash makes a good point that, and the kind of along the lines of what Brad is saying, that if we are seeing a women's tag team division build up, they're doing it right. They need to take their time to build it and don't rush it, right? Which is why I do not see titles before the end of this year, because I think that's rushing it.
I mean, we're almost to July now, so I guess.
Yeah, and then you've got, because you've got Forbidden Door, they're not going to do it there. Then you've got All Out, and then 3 more shows. But if you're starting this, if the C2 is returning, that's December into January. So I don't want them to rush a women's tournament. I'd rather them give them the time that they need. So I don't think this year is it. I don't think it's happening this year.
And I hope they take their time with it and craft it well so that it's actually a lasting thing and not a one-off. That's always sort of been, I think, both of our positions on that is make sure it happens at the right time with the right surroundings, and it's not set up for failure. It needs to be set up for success. Yeah. Otherwise, you're doing exactly the same thing as someone else did. And that's never. And that's not. Yeah, we don't need to do that. That's not what I'm like. I hope it doesn't. I would not want that. No. I hated how that went down. I will never get the Iconics out of my craw. It just pisses me off so hard. What? Tell me you're not taking these belts seriously without telling me you're not taking these belts seriously. Yeah. And they're still a mess now. It's still a mess. And Jermaine says that he didn't know that this Dynamite 300, this will be Mercedes' 1000th match. Yes, that is correct. Oh, wow. So that is one of the reasons I don't see Mina winning the TBS title match. And then Fernando asked if we thought Mercedes was Mina was winning the title. No, I don't think so. I've seen arguments for why, and I get those reasons, but no, I don't think she's losing her title a week before the biggest match in her career. I don't think she's going to, because she's undefeated. I don't see her losing her first match the week before. And I've seen the argument that they don't think Mercedes should have both women's titles. I think if that's the route that they go and then Mercedes beats Tony and she has both titles, I don't think she keeps the TBS title very long. I think she loses it pretty quickly after that, whether that's Mina getting a rematch or something like that. Perhaps that's the way they go with it, but I don't see Mercedes losing the title this close to All In and losing her undefeated. And because people are like, oh, well, you could have Tony cost her, but Tony has, of course she could come, but Tony has, Mina told Tony she doesn't want her out there. She said she wants to do it herself. And not that I would love to see Mina as TBS champion. The other reason I don't think they're doing it, I think that Mercedes keeps the TBS title longer than 500 days so she can surpass Jade. Because I don't think they want Jade having that record anymore. That makes a lot of sense. And they're this close. I think Mercedes is something like, I think when I looked recently, she was like closing in on 430 days as TBS champion. So you're only 3 months-ish away from her, less than 3 months away from her breaking that 500-day mark. So I think she gets past the 500-day mark with it before she drops that title. That's what are your thoughts on it? No, I just don't see it happening. I think that you're right, especially with that stat out there to be had, and knowing that other person is with the other company, and that this new person is someone you paid a lot of money and are putting a lot of faith in her because she's got a lot of creative control in the women's division, clearly. So I just think it doesn't make sense right now. Mm-mm. Yeah, I don't think so either. Oh, sorry, let me shake that. Yeah, it is crazy. The Mercedes has at 1,000 matches. They pointed out that Ibushi was up to about 1,100, and he's at least 10 years her senior. And then Brad pointed out, which we did know, Billy has had 600 matches, which is crazy because she is 20 years old. What can I say? She's like just barely. She just turned 20 or 8. So. Yeah, and barely. Yeah, Brad said she'd wrestle well over 100 matches a year when she started wrestling at 13, which is insane. And then Nick Wayne has had
a ton of matches as well. Oh, Brad, I like this. Keep Brody and Templario as a tag team going forward. They are awesome working together. Yeah, I really enjoyed them. That would be a fun team.
I could get into that.
Especially because, I mean, again, like I have no issues with Brody as a singles wrestler, but our tag team division needs help. And so take it where you can get it. FTR should be All In, nothing against Jet Speed. I firmly disagree with that.
Sam's not going to get your agreement. You're not going to get Sam's agreement on that one. Sorry.
I mean, you're entitled to your opinion. That's totally fine. But I'm entitled to mine, and I don't think so. And they're too busy. They're doing this feud with. They're restarting the feud with the Outrunners. I think that's going to be the match for Collision 100. I mean, maybe it doesn't go past this match. Maybe this is their blow off match. Maybe this is it. They do the Outrunners match for Collision 100, and maybe that's it. Unless Outrunners get the win, they get the upset.
That'd be awesome. I don't know if they're necessarily ready, but it would be the greatest thing in the universe to me.
Yeah.
I love them. I can't get enough of those two. I just love everything they're doing right now. It might be my member berries a little bit, but I don't even care. I think it's just hilarious. I love how they go out of their way to make it 80s.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yes. Yeah. So it'll be interesting. And I'm looking forward to this card. It's crazy. This card is still filling out.
I know, right?
Close. It's this close, and it's still filling out. But then that actually leads us right into Supercard.
Supercard. Supercard is. I'm like, Sam's gonna have thoughts.
Supercard is the night before All In. It's typically held Mania weekend. They weren't ready for it then. They aren't ready for it now, it seems like. They typically, this is what they do they've done for the last year or so. They wait and book pay-per-view, ROH pay-per-view matches like 2 weeks out. They'll maybe like 3 weeks ahead of time, we'll get like a match announcement. Then they'll fill out the rest of the card. This year, we didn't get any match announcements till Thursday.
Right.
And so I haven't had a chance to watch this week's episode yet because I was on Collision coverage and then SmackDown, and then I wasn't home yesterday. Or yesterday evening. And so I have not had a chance to catch the show yet. However, I did see the matches. And again, ROH, for its fault of waiting so long to announce cards, the show always delivers. Like the wrestlers, they understand the assignment. It's never their fault. It's always the booking and taking this long. It's never on them because they are always well worth the $9.99 that you pay to subscribe to watch it. That's a steal for these matches. So we got Thursday, we got the official announcement that Athena versus Thunder Rosa is not happening at All In, but it is happening at Supercard of Honor the night before. Sure, this leaves both women potentially in the Gauntlet match the night before, or the night after, rather. Athena should be having a singles match on All In. I will say that forever. But the match, I still, it's good for them. But the reason I say that Athena is not dropping her title is because I did the math using a website. So not me. Actually, I was counting it up, and then I was like, am I counting this right? So I went and made sure with a website. As of Friday, I believe it was, I think it was as of Friday, Athena was 72 days away from being champion for 1,000 days. Her 1,000th day is the same day as Death Before Dishonor. So I think she's holding the title until Death Before Dishonor. Does she lose it at Death Before Dishonor? She absolutely could, because she goes into it on her 1,000th day. Could she lose her title on the 1,000th day that she's champion? Sure, depending on. And then hopefully also giving them between now and September to build up somebody to beat her if it's not going to be Billy, but then they need to reignite that story If it's not going to be Billy that's beating her, and it's not going to be Thunder Rosa unless they do a rematch, a Death Before Dishonor between Thunder Rosa and Athena, then you've got from July to September the 5th to build someone up to be the one to take the title off of Athena, unless it's Mercedes, which is also possible. But I absolutely think, and of course things change, but Athena has been using the hashtag Athena1000 for the last few weeks. So I feel like if you've gotten her this close to 1,000 days, and the 1,000th day is on your second ROH pay-per-view, and that's at the 2,300 arena on top of that. I don't think there's any reason for, especially because she's not in the AEW title picture. They're barely putting her on TV. Yes, she 100% be on TV. She should be defending her title on TV, especially when you had Bandito and Chris Jericho fighting. They did their feud on AEW television for their ROH World Championship. Then it got put on an AEW pay-per-view. This story between Athena and Thunder Rosa has played out mostly on AEW television, also in CMLL. It would make sense to put that match on, because I'm usually very against ROH title matches being on AEW pay-per-views, but you do it for the men all the time. The women never get that. And Athena, of all people, in her home state, should be getting that. So you're not giving us that. So she at least better be the damn main event on Supercard of Honor.
Well, that seems like it.
They haven't, as far as I know. Again, I haven't seen the show, so maybe I missed it. But as far as I know, they have not announced a main event yet. But
it seems like the obvious main event. You're in Texas, it's the two of them. If you're going to do anything like that, you need to do it as a main event.
But the only reason that it may potentially not be is because Bandito is defending the ROH World Championship against Takeshita.
Got it.
And Takeshita is probably going to win that title and take it into the G1. Like Nick Wayne won the ROH TV Championship and took it into BOSJ. So that's my guess. Even though Bandito has been super hot and has really made himself, indispensable to their programming. He's obviously super over in CMLL. So it would make sense for him to hold on to the title, but it just seems really interesting that they're making the match with Takeshita a week before the G1 starts, when they did the exact same thing with Nick Wayne a couple of weeks before BOSJ. So that is my concern about that could potentially main event over Athena and Thunder Rosa. Or they'll do what they like to do and do a double main event. And then instead of having the women close, they do Takeshita and Bandito, which is going to be great. Like, that match is going to be a banger. Like, I love that. That match is going to be great itself, but it just seems like that's what they're doing here. And then they announced a couple other matches. They announced Blue Panther versus Lee Moriarty 2 for the ROH Pure Championship. And the tweet here says, with his victory at Ring of Honor and CMLL Global Wars, the legendary Blue Panther earned an opportunity to face the ROH Pure Champion Lee Moriarty for the Pure Championship at Supercard. Their match was, I really enjoyed their match that they had on Tuesday night. It was on the Tuesday night show in CMLL. And then I believe they aired it on our club this week for people to see, and then they made the match there. So that'd be a good match. I see Lee Moriarty retaining. And then they're also doing a match where, I think it's the match this week, actually. Sons of Texas, which is Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara, they are doing a match, I believe, this coming week to determine their opponents for Supercard, and it's either Top Flight or the Infantry. And then that team will face Sons of Texas, and I don't know that they'll have Sons of Texas lose the match in Texas.
Yeah.
I want them tag titles off of them because that also a tag team division that struggles. And if the infantry, I would have the infantry win, which I think they will. And I would also have the infantry win at Supercard and have Lee retain. Then I would be 3/5 of the way there of getting Shane Taylor Promotions having the gold. So then they would just need Trish to win some gold, which she could be the first ever pure women's champion. Perhaps she defeats Athena after 1,000 days and she becomes the world champion. Or there's also the TV title that Red Velvet has. So she could win one of those titles, and then you can put a title on Shane Taylor, and then I will finally have my wish of the entire Shane Taylor Promotions dripping in gold. But I also don't see Sons of Texas losing in Texas. But they also, Dustin is 1/3 of the trios team with the Von Erichs, who they've both been injured, and so they've barely done anything with those titles. But because no one cares about ROH, they don't care about the trios titles. So I assume if they're healthy, they'll just defend them there. I would have them drop those titles too. But I definitely see them both winning. If that match happens in Texas, they're not losing. Von Erichs aren't losing in Texas, so that ain't happening. And then I believe they have announced. Oh yes, they have announced the TV title match for one Nicholas Wayne. He is facing a returning Dalton Castle. Which I wouldn't be surprised if Dalton wins that title so it can free Nick up for the tag team titles in AEW. And also it's Dalton Castle. And I want Dalton Castle to always have a title. And I know he's been out for like a year. It'll be like over a year at this point. But I'm very excited. So there was a really great vignette for Dalton Castle like 2 weeks ago. It was very strange, very Dalton Castle. And so I wasn't sure if he would return at Supercard or before, but I haven't watched this week's episode, so I don't know if he returned or if he just issued a challenge, but I just know that I saw the graphic. And so yeah, Nikki said it's exactly what they'll do. Oh, wait a minute. Brad says, was that a real match? I thought Nick and Dalton was done for Twitter, for fake Twitter account. I thought that it was announced I thought it came from the ROH Twitter account. So I don't know. Apparently then I guess I got because I thought it came out with all the other, like when I was going back through ROH, but I'm looking, maybe I did get got. Which is possible. Because again, like I said, I haven't seen this week's episode yet, so I don't know. Well, then maybe I did get got then. It looks like maybe I did because I'm going through ROH's Twitter account right now. I mean, there's a bunch of other stuff in between. So, Brad said I could be wrong and just miss it. I haven't been on Twitter a ton the past few days. I saw it like with the group of tweets from like all the ROH tweets. So I swear I thought it came from ROH, but maybe I'm wrong.
Damn, you are human. It's okay.
No, I know. I swear, because I saw it when all the other matches were announced, so I just assumed that it was from them. But now that I'm going through, but there's a bunch of stuff mixed in between from the other night, so perhaps. Okay, yeah, this is Takeshita here. Yeah, so maybe that was not a real thing. Huh. Maybe not. Regardless, I'm ready for Dalton Castle to come back because I missed him so much. I'm so glad that he's healthy and that he is back. Oh, so Jermaine says that I could see Athena cheat with the numbers advantage to beat Thunder Rosa to set up a rematch ROH Death Before Dishonor, and then Athena drops the ROH Women's World Title. Yeah, I could see something like that happening too, especially because Red Velvet helped her win the 8 women match on Collision, but then she lost last week and she yelled at Red Velvet for not helping her win last week. And Red Velvet was like, why was I supposed to help you? And she was like, because you helped me the week before. So, yeah, I was like, I could see them running it back. Okay, well, boo. That Nick Wayne and Dalton Castle, Brad says he can't find, he's trying to do a Twitter search and nothing came up. Well, we will find out who Nick Wayne is wrestling and if Dalton Castle when he's returning. So regardless, Dalton is on his way back. But if you have not seen that vignette, please go find it because it is one of the most Dalton Castle things I have ever seen. And I say that in a positive way because I love Dalton Castle. Yes. He said he just saw this headline from early June. Sounds about right. Dalton Castle returns in a UFO for a vignette on ROH TV.
Okay.
He sure did.
UFO.
He sure did. Yes, they did have the end of the Global Awards with the Bryan Danielson's in-ring return. I saw some of the clips of it. So, and Bryan was in the audience that night, and I didn't even realize he was sitting next to Chris Hero. I was just so excited because I saw Danielson, and then I was posting about it, and somebody was like, "And Chris," I saw somebody else tweet about it, and Chris Hero was sitting right next to him, and I completely missed it because I was too busy focused on Danielson. Yeah. Crash says NJPW likely took the never open weight off Takeshita specifically for the G1, creates perception like he's more focused. I would assume that's a good point. That's a good point. I mean, there's the argument for Bandito to keep that title, but I also would not be surprised if Takeshita is beating him to take that. And so those are the matches that have announced for Supercard so far. So that we still need Red Velvet, a trios match. Missing anything? I guess they're gonna do maybe the pure tournament is starting at Supercard and ending at Death Before Dishonor. Maybe that's what they're doing. I don't know. And then I'm sure they're gonna book, and then of course you got to get the pre stuff, and I'm sure they've been using the frat house a lot, so I'm sure the frat house will be on there. I mean, good for them for getting paid, but. And I know they're just doing what they've been given, but that gimmick is not for me.
Yeah.
It's not for me. And then let's see. Yeah, and we've mentioned it a few times. Dynamite 300 is this week, and Collision 100 is also this week, which is crazy milestones to think about for both of them. And then we've been here, I mean, granted, we've missed some weeks, and so we've not been on consecutively, but we're just a little bit older than Collision.
Yeah.
Because we're at episode 170. And again, even though we've missed some episodes here and there and have not been, maybe we would obviously be a bit further, but yeah, Collision's not much younger than we are, which is the crazy thing to think about. And it's nice to see Collision is still going strong. Sometimes I've said it before, sometimes Collision is the better show of the two. Sometimes there's better wrestling, there's better storytelling.
The pacing it seems like they have the pacing is better a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure what that is, but yes, it can be the better show sometimes.
Yes.
And it's okay for things to happen on Collision that don't happen on Dynamite, because those of us who have not checked out enjoy our Collision television.
Right, exactly.
And I don't know, just trying to sell a TV show, you might want to have it be have important things happen on it so people tune into it.
Right, exactly. And to remind you, because yes, it is not on the greatest time slot. It's a Saturday night at 8:00. Yeah, that's not the greatest. And so sometimes they're like, hey, you know what? We're gonna still put this anyway because people are paying their money to come buy tickets and people are watching their show. So maybe we should reward them with cool things like Athena, having her first stare down with Mercedes, and people got mad about that, but that's because they couldn't create They record live reactions and don't watch Collision. And then we got the return of Ibushi, and people got big mad about that. Some people got big mad about that. And speaking of Ibushi, he has a match on Dynamite 300, and a gigantic match when he wrestles Kazuchika freaking Okada.
That's crazy.
I am so excited.
It's so wild. Like, this Okada is wrestling Ibushi on American television.
Right. And it doesn't appear to be a title match, but it doesn't need to be a title match.
No,
this is basically, you put my friend in the hospital, so you can try to win your match out, to try to make it where he can't even make it to his all-in match. And Don Callis says that Kenny has no friends, and Mark Briscoe was like, well, I'm his friend. And then he was like, and this dude who has known him for decades is still his friend, and he's here to beat up Kazuchika Okada.
And he looks pretty good.
Yeah, I was gonna say Ibushi looks really good. He looks
healthy.
Yes, he appears to be in a better headspace than he was. I still, thankfully, I guess, never saw the Noah match. I heard about it. Probably a good thing that I never got around to watching it, because I heard that it was very, very hard to watch Ibushi in that condition. But then I did get to see him wrestle Speedball at, I think it was Joey Janela's spring break last year, and it was great. And somebody brought it up the other day and was saying something about them wrestling, and Speedball was like, I would love to have a rematch with him. Mm-hmm. And also, even though he is in AEW and Cedric is not, they could still run that back somewhere, potentially. And I did ask Cedric about that last night, and he was into the possibility of it happening somewhere someday. He wants to run it back. He also, I will give you another, even though it will be in the article whenever I can transcribe it, he also wants to run it back with one Zack Sabre Jr. So hopefully one day, hopefully one day we'll get that too, because I would love both of those. So yeah, so I think, if I'm not mistaken, so for Dynamite 300, I believe we just have the 3 matches announced, which obviously is gigantic. I assume this is the main event, because, well, unless they do Mercedes, they could do. So Mercedes is having her 1000th match. She's defending her TBS championship against Mina Shirakawa. Mina has told Tony she does not want her out there. She wants to do this herself. So we'll see how that goes. And then the match that we talked about earlier, it's the Gauntlet match to determine the number 2 spot for All In, and it's MJF versus Anthony Bowens versus AR Fox versus Brody King. So those are our matches heading into Wednesday. I'm sure Tony will have a lot to announce probably on Tuesday, because that's when he likes to do them. And then Collision 100 will be on this Saturday. And we know for sure we're getting FTR versus the Outrunners. Has been scheduled, but I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that's the only match announced for Collision 100. But he usually doesn't announce. Sometimes he'll announce a couple things a week in advance, and then usually it's like, depending on what happens on Dynamite. I'm sure we'll get some Paragon on there, because that's kind of where they live. Adam Cole just defended his TNT championship against Josh Alexander last week, so I'm sure there's going to be some Paragon stuff there. Probably some Don Callis family, because it feels like there can't be a show without at least one member of the Don Callis family on it. Yeah. So I'm sure we'll get something. So Collision 100 should be fun. But congratulations to AEW on hitting 2 major milestones.
Awesome.
In the same week, right ahead of the biggest North American pay-per-view they've ever had. I saw something the other day about, like, it's on track to be their biggest show in North America, but I believe it's also on track to be one of the biggest shows in North America in wrestling, just in general. I should have saved that article, or at least made a note. I completely forgot what the exact details were, but AEW has definitely been on a roll as of late, and it's nice to see.
I'm just glad there's competition.
Yeah. Yes. Competition is good for everybody.
Everybody.
It makes everybody better, and it gets people hopefully money, which is very important. Are Sons of Texas on the program for Supercard? Yes. So they will be. So this week, it will be the infantry versus Top Flight, and whoever wins that match will face Sons of Texas at Supercard. I was saying that the infantry should win, but because it's in Texas, it's not happening. And so I assume as long as the Von Erichs are healthy, they'll probably announce a trios match for Supercard as well, because you can't have the Von. That's the entire reason the Von Erichs got those titles to begin with, is because they were going to do this. I knew as soon as it happened, I was like, oh, that's for the trios match next year. But I thought it was going to be an all-in, because at the time Supercard had not been moved. But it was obvious that was the goal. But then both Von Erichs were injured, and I believe they are both healthy. So I would assume a match announcement is coming for them. I too hate the Frat House theme song, because I know exactly what you're talking about. I hate that theme song so much. But you know what? Theme song is a great one, and that you should go to Spotify and stream it. And you should go stream the Cream Pie Poppy theme song from Rayhan Antaeus, because that song has been stuck in my head since last night. And it is a very catchy little song. So you should go stream that. Guess who might do a return, because they're done with the tour. There's a chance we're getting a returning Chris Jericho. Yeah, the tour's been done for a couple months now, apparently, or at least a month. I won't be surprised if he returns sooner rather than later, but I've heard that there's nothing really booked for him. Like, they don't currently. So I don't know how quickly he returns, but a wild Jericho
always finds a way on
a wild Jericho appearing at All In would not surprise me. Especially because
it's a huge show, and he always gets on pay-per-view.
Right. And I'm pretty sure he was on both All-Ins before, so will probably
he'll find a way to get on there.
Even if they put the learning tree on there and he's just there to corner them, even though Bill has been trying to be like, we don't need Jericho, we can do it ourselves. And Brian Keith is like, man, I hope Jericho's impressed with this. I hope he thinks we're doing a good job. So that's kind of the thing that they've been doing. So I won't be surprised if we get a wild Jericho coming in. I agree that Tony has no excuse for Athena not being on All In an important singles match. Am I surprised? No. Crash says, thankfully no learning tree when he does return. Big Bill and Brian Keith have their own video intro package entrance music now. It seems like that too. So I'm hoping
that's true.
I hope that they have escaped the Jericho vortex.
Hopefully him coming back is just for them to kick him to the curb.
Yes, I hope so.
Yeah.
Nikki said, I told him, Cedric, that he wanted him to run it back with ZSJ, and that was very important. So we all need to manifest that for Cedric, and for Cedric just wrestling everybody in Japan. Yes. We would love that for him. Brad says the biggest non-WWE gate right now, with a chance to be the biggest crowd of a non-WWE show. Once it passes 21,000, it'll beat the first Grand Slam. That is very impressive. My sister and I could help beat that if the hotels were not so expensive. We could help make that happen. Fernando says, after Okada versus Kenny, we need a Okada versus Takeshita.
I'm fine with that.
Crash says he probably gets on All In with Fozzy.
Oh,
why are y'all just like putting this stuff in the universe? I mean, I know it's happened already, but he's already had Fozzy play him out before.
I know,
but
right,
I don't need it again. Once was enough.
I agree with that.
Oh, so we're not great at this, but yeah. So since we pretty much wrap things up, if you have not already, subscribe to this channel. Because not only is there us, but there's also excellent content from the Dynamite show on Wednesdays. There is speaking of Strong Style, on Thursdays for all your New Japan wants and needs, and I'm sure they're gonna have lots to say about Zack Sabre Jr. defeating Goto at a I don't want to say non-televised, it was televised in Japan, but a non-streaming match.
Completely inaccessible match for anyone that isn't in the Japanese nation.
Yes. So that happened. There's also, as we mentioned, so we're obviously, these are exclusive YouTube shows, but on the Fight Game Media Network, wherever you listen to podcasts, you can also find the 5-Star Joshi show, which is all your Joshi needs, as we mentioned earlier. And there's also the Wrap, which is all for all your WWE needs. There's also special shows like a couple of weeks ago, myself and Keela Cash from the Wrap and Garrett did there's a show called The Watchback. We did a watchback of Evolution, the very first Evolution pay-per-view, ahead of Evolution 2, the day after All In. And that was the second episode. There will be an episode coming soon with the guys from Speaking of Strong Style and Garrett rewatching Omega Okada 1. So they're going to get that show out there before All In. So that should be coming very soon. So make sure you subscribe, because there's lots of good content and you can, on the YouTube channel, you can see clips of or listen to clips from other shows to kind of get a taste of what each show is like and help you determine, if that's something you want to check out, and if something you want to subscribe to, even if you for the audio shows. So definitely make sure, because when you subscribe, for us, that subscription is for the entire channel, and that helps all of us to grow. And there's some really great content creators over here who do really great work week in and week out. And that's an easy, free way to support us is following us here, getting the word out. Of course, you can follow us on social media as well. Fight Game Media is on Twitter. They don't use it as much, but they are on Blue Sky. We're both on both Mel and I are on Blue Sky.
We can use the Twitter a little more because we have a little more followers.
Yes, and Power Bombshells is also on. So both of us plus Power Bombshells are over on Blue Sky, and then of course we are on Twitter, and Power Bombshells is also on Instagram. Right. So you can find us there. I'm going to try to post some Ashe pictures over there this week, just to get some stuff over there, because I use the stories more than actually posting to our timeline. So I need to be better about that. And so I was like, oh good, now I have some new Ashe content. I can post some pictures over here of some of the people we've been lucky enough to have on our show before. So except I'll have to get that Darius sign up there for you guys to see.
Awesome.
Brad makes a good point. Honestly, if Jericho's coming back to do a retirement kind of tour, I'm fine with that. We know he's not going to be main eventing for world titles. He's at least earned that. Otherwise, stay away. Yeah, if we're coming for a retirement, go ahead. Yeah,
I'm with that.
Yeah, if it's going to be a retirement tour of sorts, I'm all for it. If you're trying to be in title pictures, then we got a problem. And if you're just taking up time that could go to other people just for the sake of taking up time, I don't have time for it.
Agree.
I already watched 2 nearly 50-year-old men trying to get the title over in the other company. And one of them, and watching that play out, has been watching a 48-year-old cosplaying as his opponent from 2003, the 2003 version of that opponent, and then watching the 49-year-old opponent standing there listening to it in his uniform he's been wearing for 20 years. I was just like, I don't need to see it, which is the same reason. I mean, we complained about Jericho and Jeff Jarrett and some of the stuff they were doing over here. So the AARP versions, AEW went through their AARP versions of stuff too. And this is And that is not, I don't mean this as an ageist way at all. I just mean it as in.
No, but there's a lot of young people out there that are wrestling right now, and it's time to give them the torch.
Yes, exactly.
True.
Yes. So I don't want to start off on another tangent. So
no, we're good. We're good. We're gonna let everybody get back to their Sunday and thank them very much for joining us in the comments and in the replays and we do appreciate you guys all liking us. And we really, really do love wrestling and love having you guys with us. We do. It's a lot of fun. So, all right, I'm gonna click us out.